Hello everyone. This is for the participation points or assignment for the class that was cancelled last Thursday. I watched all the videos that we were supposed to watch, and I went through the website, the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, and the first point that Professor Lowe wanted us to cover was to compare the messages between the videos and the website. Well, obviously they're different. Obviously they give a different message. I must say, uh, I have tried, especially lately, I've tried to kind of not go either black or white on issues or go to one extreme or the other, and both of these stands when it comes to the videos, even though the videos I think were a little bit uh, more lenient on their stand, whereas the website is, very much. I mean, it uses pretty strong language when it comes to the preparation for today's therapist has gone to hell and things like that. We're not being properly trained. Talking about people graduating from very well-known universities and some others not graduating from well-known universities, even though it continues to debunk their own theory further down. So where I stand on this issue is it has to go case by case. We cannot just make a rule. We cannot just, just make a rule of thumb and just say, this is how it is and this is how it will always be. I really appreciated what one of the ladies in the video said, which was that once the issue was brought up in the 60s or in the 80s, 70s and 80s, she said that in the 80s they went to the other extreme. So in the 60s and 70s they wouldn't even listen to the victims of abuse, and then she said that in the 80s people could go into a therapy session, say anything they wanted, and the therapist would believe them immediately. And I think this is where the website and the videos and the message from these two sources they stand. They are these two polar extremes, and but what the psychologist said in the video, I think, is the safest way to go and approach this issue, which is, hey, we have to learn from our past. We always have to kind of look back at the history and realize that we cannot pick extremes. We cannot just kind of, say this is how it is, but it has to be case by case. And of course, that requires us as therapists to be aware. Another message that the video made very clear, at least to me, it spoke to me, was to stay on top of this field. This field is always changing, is evolving, is transforming day to day. Not, this is not something that every 5 years you have to do something. No, this is day to day, every week. There is a new theory coming up. There are new studies, research studies being performed. So we have to stay on top of these things and on top of this field and make sure that we are on top of our game as therapists. The second point was, what role do you see mental health specialists play in deciding if a memory is real or false? And they play an incredible role. Like, it's a very, very important role that mental health specialists play. First of all, it begins with having a client, that might be a minor or an adult, get to the point where they can even face that part of their trauma. So as the videos mentioned over and over again, people don't understand. They hear a noise, they smell something, they hear something, they see something, all of a sudden they feel weird, they have all of these weird thoughts, and they don't know why. They go to a therapist, and I cannot imagine how delicate that situation must be, where this person shows up in your office and you are in charge all of a sudden to make sure that everything is well balanced in your office, in the communication that you're using, in the theory that you're applying towards this client, so that this client can slowly get to the point where his or her brain is ready to unfold and ready to face the traumatic experiences. One thing that I wanted to mention is we must be very careful that we do not cross that line between being a therapist and being an advocate. We have to make sure that we are our client's therapists at all time. We, emotionally speaking, we have to make sure that we are not overly emotionally involved, so that we are always objective in our approach. We are always objective in the goals that we set, when how we process the information that the client is giving us. We must be objective, and so we must make sure that those boundaries are always there. Not only there, but they are clear to us and to the client. So the client is confident in us as well, in the job, in the role that we are playing. Let's see. How would you work with a client that is being falsely accused of sexual abuse based on repressed memories? This is tricky. It's not easy. I don't think it's an easy task. I would be a liar. I really would be a liar right now if I didn't say that if somebody is telling me that, hey, if a client comes into my office per se and says, my little nephew is accusing me that I abused him so many years ago, as a human being, I think, or maybe as me, I have to make sure that I don't jump into conclusions. Abuse is something that I have very, very little or no tolerance at all for. And so I have to make sure that if that happens in my future career, I have to stand calm and cool, and I have to make sure that I am using my training and my education when I do that. The most important thing is that I have to be professional in the how I behave and how I lead the conversation. I cannot take sides. I shouldn't. One thing that I would avoid is to maybe help the client not feel victimized. It would be something really hard, because sometimes, not sometimes, but we get invested. We feel invested with our clients, and if one day if a client that I've been seeing for months or even a year or more shows up and tells me something like this, it would be hard not to immediately kind of take their side. So try to be objective, be professional, be ethical, and go from there. And I think that if the foundation of those sessions are strong on ethics and professionalism, I think that everywhere we go from there, I think that we will be safe. Any other significant takeaways? There were a lot of takeaways. I got to be honest. The legal issue videos, they were not easy to watch. Boring. However, I do know that they are of vital importance. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that I didn't sympathize or even empathize with the professionals that shared their personal stories with us. But I don't know why the memories, or how the trauma affects the memories. Those two videos were definitely much more interesting to me. I actually really enjoyed watching the videos. I learned a lot. A couple of things more than what I've already mentioned. I learned the difference between forgetting a memory because of trauma, or not being able to, to save it, and repressing a memory. I don't know if you guys caught that. That just kind of stuck with me, and maybe something weird. So repressing a memory, which Freud came up with, that means, so you understand what happens. You understand, you know what, my dad beat me up, or I had a car accident, I lost a loved one in that car accident. Repressing it is you knowing that that memory exists, that that event happened, and you are choosing not to think about it. You are choosing to move on, and you are choosing to just push it. Every time it comes up, you push it further down. Whereas losing a memory because of trauma is completely having no idea whatsoever that that memory is there. Like the example that the video gave of the lady that was walking with her boyfriend on the bridge, and the boyfriend jumped, and she said that for a whole year, she had no idea that that had happened. Like her brain had completely, so she had not chosen to forget about it, it just happened. And then she was just driving on the bridge one day, and that's all it took. Like I mentioned earlier, something that you see, smell, hear, something like that. I appreciated the videos, and it's weird because it happens with every single class here that I have taken in this program. I have this opinion of a certain subject, of a topic. I have this opinion, and I go into the class with a certain opinion about it. Like with trauma, for example, I always thought it was going to be hard. I never really was that. I never felt curious about it, but now I definitely am. I definitely am, and mostly because I understand that it is one of the toughest fights that we as therapists, or even social workers, or psychologists in the mental health field, it's one of the toughest fights that we are fighting. It's one of the toughest situations that we can find ourselves in. And the other thing is that I learned is lawyer up. Make sure that you are insured when you go out there and you practice. And something that stuck with me again was, when you're discussing things with your lawyer, he is your lawyer. He is working for you. So don't be afraid to let your lawyer know what you need, and whatever you're thinking about, how things are going. So let's see, what else? Yeah, overall, just great information on both, on all the videos that we watched. Yeah. So looking forward to seeing what your guys' reaction was to it, and having a bit of a discussion. All right, thank you.